Hello and welcome to episode 7 of Well Played AU. I'm your host Bluetongue. Hovering in from the hills, we have Harrow. How are you doing, Harrow?
Doing really well, thanks, Bluetongue. I finally finished reading Teen Titans, and I've just started the Grant Morrison's JLA run, and I recently got into Ruby from Rooster Teeth. I would recommend that wholeheartedly to every human being on the planet.
That is the anime series, unless I'm mistaken.
It's American, but in an anime style, yeah.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so is it different to your typical anime in some way?
Yeah, the show has very, very little fat on it, unlike an anime which can have quite a lot of filler in it.
Interesting. Cool. Balling in from the Blue Mountains, we have Cam. How are you doing, Cam?
I'm a little jealous that Harrow's starting Morrison's run on JLA. I read that years ago, and yeah, it's quite an incredible run ahead of you there.
I've read it before reading it again.
It's really mind-melting, some of the stuff that Grant Morrison does and some of the stuff he writes. I've never really understood it, but always enjoyed it. But no, I'm doing well this week. I've got a job interview lined up for next Monday, and I've just finished semester, so it times really well. Fantastic.
What is the job doing?
Basically, it's a journalism gig, so kind of hope to, I sent the application in 2 days ago, so they've already offered me an interview, which is nice. I hope to kind of keep that up and continue not messing it up for myself.
Excellent. All right. Still grinding his way through Elder Scrolls characters from Gladesville, we have Bauxite. How are you, Baux?
Yeah, I'm doing pretty well. As you say, I've been playing a lot of Elder Scrolls recently. A lot. I have found myself with a lot of time on my hands, actually, so a bit of a break from work at the moment, which is great. The other thing I've been playing is Big Pharma, which I've actually been enjoying a lot. Maybe a bit too much. It's actually really, it's really quite hard. You need to do a lot of thinking. But the thing that really sold me on it was a review I read on Steam by a fellow called PJM1, and if you permit me, I'll just have a quick read of that now. So I've been playing this game. I came within the top 5% of the topmost goal for a level and failed for lack of time. I went back several saves and had a look at all my stats and what was my choice of drugs wrong? Were my production lines in a square or too inefficient, preventing me from utilizing another delivery portal? And then it hit me. My best-selling drug for erectile dysfunction was beautifully crafted to avoid side effects and have a cure rating, and was devastating for the market for itself. I simply couldn't pull off enough profit out of the economy if I cured people. So I tried again. Made sure to give the sufferers a side effect-free drug which worked some of the time, enough to get their hopes up, but not enough for them to stop buying next month's installment. 10 out of 10 would abandon business ethics again.
Very good.
That's actually what decided me, made the decision for me to actually get the game, was based on that. And it's very true. There's a lot of situations where you find yourself really having to scale back the effectiveness of a drug in order to make more money.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Cool. Can you artificially increase the price of a drug that people need to use to stay alive?
Unfortunately, no. So it's not a completely accurate simulator for life.
Although you could then have a competitor then come out and slash the same price, thus just about putting out of business, as happened. So it's a shame that feature's not a part of there, but in real life there was a nice reaction to that.
Yes.
If only it was somebody's job to ask how Bluetongue was doing.
If only someone had that job.
If only it was my turn to ask you how you were doing. I'm very sorry I wasn't looking at the show notes.
I was looking at the note going, yeah, okay.
It's like, you know what? I could try and fill it in, but if I do that, they'll never learn.
So, how you doing, Bluetongue?
Yeah, I'm doing good. I finished Seven Eves this week, the book of an epic 31-hour duration listening. It was quite enjoyable. I was particularly happy about the fact that I accurately predicted more or less most of the ending. But aside from that, I've been just killing time playing games and listening and editing and doing that sort of stuff. Back into WoW, back into Diablo, all the usuals. And if anyone has a free code for Overwatch, send me an email, the wellplayedau email address. That'd be great. Thanks.
You're assuming that I won't get to it first.
Yes, whoever gets the email first gets the code. All right.
And only Satan is laughing.
I did have the opportunity to get a code if I'd been watching my Facebook religiously. There was a chance for me on there. I could have actually gotten a beta for Overwatch, and it was deeply disappointing when I realised that I had missed out. Anyway, so Well Played is a podcast about sharing comic books, graphic novels, movies, TV shows, computer games, board games, and other things we enjoy with our listeners. For those of you who are already familiar with the subjects, hopefully it can give you some more new perspectives on it. So without further ado, let's get stuck in.
So this is episode 7 of the Well Played podcast, and one of the things that we are talking about today is the episode 7 of Star Wars. You see what I did there? Seamless transition. Smooth. This week, talking about, I think this is the most hyped I've felt about a film in years. Certainly watching the trailer that only came out a few weeks ago, the first official trailer that they've released for this. They had a couple of teasers before this that showed us little parts of the world. Now, first chance to get a real good look at this film. This is the most excited I've been about a film in at least 10 years. The last Star Wars film in the mainline Star Wars continuity was 10 years ago. That was quite disappointing, as all of the prequels were. This is the first film with George Lucas in his new role of doing as little as he can with response to the film. But
honestly, that's the best place for him. The first two, episodes 4 and episodes 5, he was completely blocked from being the inverted commas creative genius that he is by his wife.
He's serving as a script supervisor or a consultant to these next films, and basically J.J. Abrams is taking it from here for this first one. Now, I take it that everyone in the known world and certainly other parts of the universe have seen this trailer at some point. What were your initial reactions to this when you saw it?
I was a little bit blown away. After being burned by episode 1 and episodes 2 and 3 not really giving me a lot to hope for, this was really good.
They gave you no new hope, is that right?
Nice. Well done. This really feels like the return of the Jedi to...
Does it feel like a
Shut him up
Force
now.
is awakening?
10 minutes if you let him.
No, look, yeah. This feels like episodes 4, 5, and 6 to me. There's a lot of hat tips and a lot of connections to those movies.
What were the hat tips that you picked up on? What was it that that you saw in that in particular that makes you think of episodes 4, 5, and 6?
Okay. Well, one thing is, you've got Han Solo in there, you've got the Millennium Falcon, you've got Luke and Leia. The big obvious things. Well, maybe not a lot of Luke, but it is following on from that story in a very solid way. You've also got things like Rey's, who seems to be the main character of this movie, at least from the trailer's perspective. Her goggles that she's wearing in the opening scene of the trailer very much look like she's cut out the eyepieces from one of the old style stormtrooper helmets. So there's a lot of really solid connections to the original trilogy. So which is what you would expect from a sequel, but yeah.
But what you've just described is actually why I'm a bit nervous, because it looks like it's copying all the beats from A New Hope. This struck me more as a remake than a continuation.
Well, it's really hard to say without actually seeing the content of the actual film, the actual story and stuff like that. Like, we can take guesses that there's going to be a dark villain, also known as Andy Serkis. Is it really?
Andy Serkis is one of the...
Yes, yeah.
He's like one of the henchmen for Kylo Ren.
Okay, sure.
Look at his boss. Supreme Leader Snoke, I thought the guy's name was.
So
That could be.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there's
that
Snoke, there's
is right.
also the head of Stormtroopers. The name is eluding me right now, but Gwendolyn Christie's character.
Captain Phasma?
Yep.
Yeah.
Phasma,
Better known as Brienne of Tarth from Game of Thrones.
Ah, right.
Yep.
Very good. That'll be quite an imposing character.
She's actually, like, outside of Game of Thrones, completely stunningly beautiful.
No, I was just going to continue the kind of discussion that we were having earlier. I mean, we've kind of barely touched upon some of the fears that we've had, or some of the nervousness about this, and that trepidation is, with what happened with certainly the prequels and everything like that. I think that trepidation's been sort of hovering over this film. It's been a bit of a dark cloud. But before we get to that, just touching on the hope a little bit that there.
Sorry, before you go much further, you're saying that there's a dark side to all of this.
I'm just saying that, yes,
And
there is
you have a new
dark
hope
side.
about something?
Oh, good lord.
But basically, I felt like what I was getting at is in that discussion, I felt an awakening, the dark side and the light, if I can quote from the one of the teaser trailers. But certainly,
Look, don't force this.
I can't have been the only one who watched this trailer like I was 8 years old again.
Yeah.
I can't be the sole person here that felt that.
So it did certainly bring back those memories for me. It's like actually using the themes really implementing the music, really strong themes, exactly the kind of thing that you'd expect. I personally, all I'm expecting is a little bit of variation on the traditional Star Wars themes, and you've got yourself an amazing soundtrack. Like, people don't want to see massive discontinuation of that stuff. Like, that's the kind of stuff that ties the whole series together, as far as I'm concerned anyway.
Mr. John Williams scoring this one, but not going forward. This is like supposed to be his last Star Wars before he runs out of virgin tears or whatever to keep him alive.
Okay, yep. Then, and like, they've brought back all the golden oldies, so Harrison Ford, Mark Hamill, Carrie Fisher, Peter Mayhew is even coming back, and so is Kenny Baker, which I thought was impressive. I'm a little worried. There's two things that concern me about that. I'm happy to see them, don't get me wrong, and it's awesome that they've aged in real life in conjunction with their characters in Star Wars.
I've got big props to the actors for aging.
Yes, good job there.
Zero of them to do that, thinking, you know what, if Lucas ever decides he doesn't have enough money to swim through right now, that he might make 20, 30 years from now the sequel, so I better not, suspend myself in animation like I was planning to.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, this is a Disney movie, so Walt Disney, suspended animation.
Yes, it's kind of you're drawing. That sound that our listeners can hear is you drawing a very long bow. But
yeah, true.
So my concern was there. So they've brought them all back. That's great. They've brought back the music. That's great. They've brought back the Millennium Falcon and like all these really classic, iconic Star Wars things. I'm a little bit worried about the old cast. In that. I've seen the latest Indiana Jones movie, and we'll call that not so great. There was nothing Harrison Ford could do to redeem that. Then we also have an entirely new cast as well, and with a lot of sort of unproven people. Aside from Gwendolyn Christie, I'm not sure I recognise any of the new characters. Do you guys know these guys from anywhere else?
So Adam Driver,
the X-Wing pilot. He's in stuff.
Poe Dameron.
Yeah, he's also going to be Apocalypse in the new X-Men, and he was in that amazing Ex Machina movie, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Was he the programmer in that?
Yeah, not the programmer, the one who made. They were both programmers.
Oh, right,
the creator, the one that made her.
Oh yeah, excellent. Okay, cool. I have seen that. That was quite good. Very unexpected. I didn't expect the conclusion to that story. Yeah, but aside from that, do we have any other references for these guys? Like, where were they from? Are they just
Adam Driver was in a TV show called Girls, which is about as far away as you can get from Star Wars. It's a galaxy far, far away. But basically, his resume doesn't sound like typical of, this kind of film. But he's young. He's got a promising career. He was in another film recently that I think 7 people saw. I was one of them, with Ben Stiller, called While We're Still Young. That was quite a good one. I think he's promising. I'm not entirely aware of what his role is in this one. You can see him there in some scenes with the snow suit stormtroopers, but certainly I don't really know a whole heap of the cast beyond that. They've kind of gone for quite an interesting mix here of stars.
Yeah, absolutely.
Look, I mean, that's something that the original series did very well. Before Star Wars, Carrie Fisher, Harrison Ford, Mark Hamill, they were unknowns.
Yep.
The guy that played Tarkin,
I have very high hopes that the new actors will sort of follow in that tradition, but I'm a little bit worried. That's why I said it's a fear that they're not going to live up to their predecessors.
And of course, fear leads to hate, and hate anyway. Certainly it.
Sorry, Harrow, I cut you off there.
That's all right. I'm going to say, it's before our time, but in episode 4, the guy that played Tarkin was supposed to be like this excellent old school actor, but he was like the most well-known cast member in the entire movie. The rest of them, were all unknowns and up-and-comers.
Harrison Ford had worked with Lucas in American Graffiti, so he had some notoriety, but definitely, I think probably on the same level as does an Adam Driver or not quite Gwendolyn Christie, but you know what I mean, the kind of level here catapulted him.
Wasn't Obi-Wan Kenobi a particularly famous, well-known actor before?
So
what was his name?
McGregor. It wasn't not Ewan McGregor. He was in the
originals. Yeah. Oh, sorry.
This podcast is going to sound a little bit like experiences with dementia here, as we all try to recall people's names. But basically, it was it?
My understanding is that he had a quite a well-established acting career prior to that. He was very, very professional, and he actually coached a lot of the younger actors through
Alec Guinness.
Through the roles.
Yeah.
And they sort of looked up to him as a role model. I've seen like documentaries and stuff like that of them talking about how he would sit down and work his lines and figure out exactly how he's going to enunciate every little part of what he was saying. So
that sounds art imitating life. That's awesome. Obi-Wan mentoring all the little actors.
Yeah. The irony.
I think he also, I heard a story before, and I don't know if anyone can corroborate this or not, but it was not expected with Star Wars to be the hit that it was. Who could predict that? And he didn't take like your standard kind of fee for acting in that. He took like a portion of the box office. I think he knew that this was going to do well.
Yep. And you'd be able to see that more clearly from the inside of the actual production.
Yeah, I also heard that he regretted being involved and thought it was a steaming pile of garbage. So,
hindsight.
Yeah.
So those are my concerns. What about you guys?
I reckon that we've seen J.J. Abrams do this before. We've seen him reboot Star Trek, and really reboot. He's taken it right back to its roots with the original Captain Kirk and the original Spock, and the original Spock, Leonard Nimoy, in there too. So we've got a very similar style of genre. So it's space movie, sci-fi type thing with original cast members in it, following on from things that have happened before and also hitting those same notes again. Now, Star Trek Into Darkness was fantastic. I think he did an excellent job there. And I think given the IP he's working with, I think he'll do an excellent job again.
Yep.
So.
I agree.
But it's such a big task trying to replicate Star Wars, trying to capture Star Wars. I think as a collective, our hopes may be too high now. These trailers have been
let's face it, everyone's hopes have been lowered a great deal by the prequels.
It was Kevin Smith that invented that whole thing about if this fails, you'll forever be known as Jar Jar Abrams. But I don't think it will. You know what my worry about this film will be is two things. One is I've heard it's rumored that one of the core characters, one of the old school characters, is going to die in this. Now that's just rumor. That's very early on. Take it for what it's worth. The other one related to this, but just similar, is that I'm going to cry when I freaking see it because I know that talking to one of my students, he's like, yeah, I saw the trailer. I said, did you cry? And he looked up at me and he said, did you? I sort of said, well, it doesn't count if the tears don't leave your eyes, so technically no. If they get this right, this is like a part of a lot of people's childhood. Kevin Smith, when he was on the set of episode 7, when he got to see the Falcon, basically said that he cried like an 8-year-old when he got up to the top level, and J.J. Abrams told him that's going to happen. So, yeah, that's my worry for this one.
That you're just going to be in a theater full of tears.
Yeah, and I'm sure I won't necessarily be the only one, but especially if they kill off one of those original characters.
I'm okay with them killing off original characters as long as it serves the plot well. I don't want to see it, obviously, but then again, the villains need to be properly villainous, not just overtly menacing. So
yeah, my money is on Carrie Fisher.
Yeah.
Okay.
Although I think
I hope you mean on Leia, not like Carrie Fisher the person.
No, actually Carrie Fisher.
We're doing a Deadpool here on Warplay.
No, look, I think either Han Solo or Leia.
I'm leaning towards Han personally. I reckon he's kind of the most likely to. He's the most loved and has the least ability to protect himself from, say, lightsaber bearing dark Jedi.
Yeah. Well, the rumor is that Leia is a full Force user in this now. So.
Oh, cool.
We can see Leia as a Force ghost afterwards.
Well, that's true.
Yeah, I don't want to travel down the whole. You will be the last, whatever the main character's name is. You will be the last of the Jedi, or the Jedi are all but extinct. I don't want them to recycle that storyline. I'm cool if there's only like a couple of Jedi, but not, just the one.
Let's face it. Your objective after winning, after winning the battle in the last episode, episode 6, would be okay. We've reestablished some semblance of order, and we now need to reestablish the intergalactic police force, which is essentially the Jedi Knights.
No, I completely disagree. At the end of episode 6, there's a power vacuum at the top of a very, very large military organization. That's not something that's conducive to order.
They've had 30 years to sort it out, or for it to settle down.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, it's a perfectly valid point.
Sorry, can I interject? By the same token, in the trailer, Harrison's Ford saying, all the old stories, they're true. So Jedi are myth now. Well, yeah, Jedi are myth or legend. They're not mainstream. They're not well known.
Yeah, so I think here that what we're looking at is potentially one of the characters dying, beloved character. It kind of brings me to a related note, which is that we don't see a lot of, or any really, of Luke Skywalker in that trailer. We see him. I've seen some pictures of what Mark Hamill looks like now, as far as him wearing a costume, but nothing official has really been released about what Luke's role in this film will be. Some speculation out there that Kylo Ren, the masked character in the trailer, who says he's going to carry on Darth Vader's work, and he's got Darth Vader's helmet there. Is Luke going to be Kylo Ren? Is he someone who's gone to the dark side now. What are your thoughts?
Oh, wow.
I think we can pretty much exclude that.
Yeah. I hadn't even contemplated the possibility of that being the case.
He's played by a different actor.
Yeah.
So, but then again, we've seen that before with James Earl Jones and a fella who was actually in the suit of Darth Vader.
Yeah, James Earl Jones and dude that played Darth Vader.
Yeah.
He was like a Scottish bodybuilder or something. It was the most hilarious thing to see that without the actual voiceovering.
You should see when they did the Chewie without the voiceovering. The guy couldn't growl. All he could do in the mask was scream. So it's just they'd be getting the medals at the ceremony, and the Chewie could just.
That's awesome. That actually was something I was going to mention. I'm like, well, if we're talking about characters dying, there's a potential for Chewie or like one of the droids or something like that to be the token death. If you want to.
So,
David Prowse was the actor. But look, yeah, that's an interesting theory. Another theory I've heard about Kylo Ren is that he's actually Jar Jar Binks.
I was going to say I wouldn't mind Jar Jar Binks dying.
Well, actually, the theory seems to hold a bit of water.
Yeah, I love that. That someone's put one of these theories up. You're about to talk about it, I think.
Yeah, so the theory is that, you know how in the first movie, episode 1, he has a lot of lucky breaks. Like he trips over a gun and manages to shoot out and kill 5 droids or whatever. And, someone once said, I don't believe in luck. So, in my experience, there's no such thing as luck. Yeah.
That was Obi-Wan himself who said that. So.
Yeah. So look, there's a theory that Jar Jar is actually Kylo Ren. I think we can probably discount that too. It'd be nice to see him.
I did love that meme about it though, with he pulls off the helmet and says, "Misa gonna avenge you, Annie." I would love to see that. Just explode. And I hope that J.J. Abrams, in his infinite wisdom, has actually recorded that as a future Blu-ray extra or whatever. But yeah,
I would like to see just one movie theater out there where there's the alternate ending, and that's it.
Don't explain it afterwards. Just watch as a group of 30-odd people go around spreading vicious and false rumors about this. And
I would like to see the only reference to Jar Jar Binks being the first entrance of the villainous Dark Jedi, stepping off his ship. And the first thing he does is steps onto a planet where he crushes the skull of something that vaguely resembles Jar Jar Binks.
Well,
I don't even give it that much.
Too much?
No, just a passing remark. Oh, by the way, I destroyed Naboo on the way here. That's it.
That was actually where Palpatine was from. Emperor Palpatine.
Yeah, I know.
Originally, but I think maybe J.J. Abrams actually joked that what he would do is have just as a passing image, you can see Jar Jar's bones in the desert. So, by the way, Jar Jar died on his way back to his home planet.
So moving on to the subjects of like the practical execution of the graphics and the choreography and stuff.
I thought you were going to talk about the practical execution of Jar Jar.
How would you execute Jar? No. So, one of the things I really liked in the trailer was the camera following the Millennium Falcon as it flew around, and the actual dogfights and stuff like that look really cool. How did you guys feel about them?
That was the part that gave me goosebumps, not the dialogue or the ground fights. It was the aerial battles and the pursuit. That was the highlight for me.
Yeah, excellent.
Do you think maybe that is part of what made this seem like the original trilogy? Because we didn't get those kinds of fights so well in the prequels.
Yeah, I'm beginning to wonder that myself, because I remember as a kid, the thing that really excited me was the lightsabers. I always wanted to watch the lightsaber fights and the duels and stuff like that. And let's face it, they actually executed those quite well in the prequels.
Yeah.
But
I think we'd all agree the choreographed lightsaber is probably the best thing to come out of the prequels?
Yeah.
I actually disagree.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm gonna be the devil's advocate here, but I found those too clean, and they looked too choreographed.
Okay.
They didn't look like a brutal battle for your life.
Two guys
They
trying
looked
to
like
kill each
now
other.
we're just going to have a dance off. So
I think that one of the other aspects related to that was the CGI in general. You could see a lot of the CGI in those scenes, like one of the lightsaber duels where Yoda participates and he flips around and stuff. That was, very much heavy use of CGI. That's something that's moved away from this time.
Yeah. So, look, if they've done that, I'm happy for the Force battles to be quite, elaborate, for want of a better word. But I want them to be, I don't know what the word is, gritty. I want them to be real life battles where there's the constant potential for someone to get killed or hurt without just having their head chopped off or being chopped in half.
yeah, well, I mean, you see in the fight scene, you see a fight scene between Kylo Ren and John Boyega. He looks like he's shitting his pants. Let's be honest. He just goes, "I've got a lightsaber. This guy's coming at me. Crap." He might be able to hold his own for a few minutes, but I see him losing that.
Yeah.
Unless he gets saved somehow. But yeah. And plot prediction, I'm guessing Luke's going to come out of nowhere and pull his ass out of the fire.
Yeah, quite possibly. I can, and let's face it, in the earlier episodes while Luke's still figuring out his lightsaber, he loses hands and stuff like that. So there's always the potential for really bad stuff to happen, all of which is taken out of the first prequels. So yeah.
Yeah, Kylo Ren's not going to lose his hand. He knows what's up. Those cross guards are working out good for him.
Not the hand that holds the lightsaber, maybe the other hand.
Yeah.
How do you guys feel about marketing on this? I've got to say it's actually another one of my fears in that the marketing and the promotion of this movie, being now with Disney and everything else, might result in a lower quality product or something that's a bit too cheesy. What do you guys think?
That was my concern when you originally heard this. What did Disney buy it for? 6 billion, 16 billion. It was in the billions that they bought Star Wars for. And I can remember hearing on the radio going, yeah, that's great. They're obviously going to, after spending this much money, they're obviously going to make more content to get their money back. But that means they need to make a lot of money, which means it's got to be merchandisable, which means it's got to be kid-friendly. So, yes, that is a massive worry for me that this is going to be too kid-safe.
Yeah.
Not only does it need to be kid-friendly, but it also needs to be something that the parents are going to bring their kids to. So you need to honour the older markets. And let's be honest, kids don't have any money. People like you and me have money. We're the people that buy the merchandise, dude.
A person like me.
So what I've seen so far is the Disney Infinity 3.0 stuff. They've got all the characters and all the Star Wars characters for that, which is fine. Yeah, I did buy all the Disney Infinity 2.0 stuff. I'm not really feeling the way of reinvesting in another series of that stuff. So, that's just one example of some of the merchandise they've done so far. And yeah, obviously being released just before Christmas, I can just see this going bananas in terms of getting the latest Star Wars figures and stuff like that.
Maybe I could be the sole. We had sort of earlier some instances of sort of being the devil's advocate here. I am kind of on board as far as the whole merchandise thing goes. Some of the figures look pretty insanely cool. I'm pretty down with that side of things. It's always been one of the staples of Star Wars, and I completely understand that they're going to go into overdrive. Something else I'm looking forward to that's going to be tied to the success of this will be Star Wars Battlefront, which maybe we want to discuss that in another episode, but definitely on board with that as well.
I have actually mentioned that already. We discussed it briefly on episode 6 episode 5 or 6. I had a quick playthrough of the beta and stuff like that of that game. To a certain extent, I can see that the release of it's coinciding with this. But at the same time, it felt a lot more heavily biased towards the older content.
Of course, no, I mean that just in terms of the timing. Here, it's really like a timing relevance thing as opposed to the one concept that they will be importing is one of the battles that takes place between the sort of episodes 4, 5, and 6 and episode 7. I can't remember the name of the planet it takes place on, but you get to play through that particular battle. So they have some tie-in, and I'm expecting perhaps more with DLC and that sort of thing.
There's supposed to be a couple more tie-in. The tie-in books were supposed to start from September. So yeah, if you want to, I believe there's a way you can read about some of the big battles, but in the time skip.
So. Has anyone read all the prequel novels and all the novels that go along with the lore of Star Wars?
Jeez, all the novels? Seriously, I'm only 30, dude.
So basically they've now, so as quite understandably, so as to give them some scope, they chucked a lot of that continuity out.
Okay. So like Mara Jade and those characters?
Yeah, so the joke is, we've heard stories. It's all non-canon.
Cool.
They didn't throw a lot of it out. They threw all of it out. Though, to be fair, I've read the was it the Heir to the Empire trilogy?
Was that by
Holy
Timothy Zahn?
crap, that was good.
Okay.
With Grand Admiral Thrawn, that is a villain right there. We need more villains like him in comics, in movies, in TV shows, in Star Wars. He's an amazing villain.
Okay.
Yeah. Part of the reason I said that they threw most of, rather than all of it out, is a lot of the time you see from the comic books, particularly Lucas was and is a fan of the comic books, so he started importing at least background characters from the comic books and that kind of thing. So we might see more of that kind of thing, some nods here and there to what we have seen previously in the now discredited stuff, I guess. But certainly, currently the way that they're going about this is Marvel are, taking the reins for some of the fleshing out certain parts that have taken place between them. I haven't read Marvel's Star Wars stuff, not for lack of wanting, just haven't got on board with it, as happens when there's about 4,000 comic book titles out there. And it'd be interesting to see, I think.
Excellent. All right. Well, so that is being released in Australia on the 17th of December, directed by J.J. Abrams. Sorry?
Did we mention that? That's directed by J.J. Abrams? I'm not sure that we mentioned that yet.
Yep.
Also, have we at least spoken about one time just how good James Spader is in Blacklist?
Let's quickly revisit that now. Does everyone else wish that James Spader was in this as well?
Yeah.
I think he'd be a good Sith.
Sorry, he'd be a good Sith. Okay.
Yeah.
I think he'd make a better Grey Jedi.
Someone who, not in Obi-Wan Kenobi's kind of club, but someone who is able to play off both sides.
And yeah, we're all looking forward to seeing it, and I'm sure we'll be sitting down to have another one of these conversations afterwards.
Hopefully we won't be crying in disappointment.
Yes, exactly. We all have hopes.
It's episode 1.
Please do not dash our hopes. All right.
Yeah.
So moving on.
Well, I think this is my turn. Now let me just consult the notes here. Back in 2005, I believe a little unknown director, what's his name, Chris Nolan, came out with Batman Begins, which I didn't really want to see because it was just another origin story. Then we got The Dark Knight, which was amazing. Then in 2009, we got Arkham Asylum, which I wasn't interested in playing because I thought it was just going to be a tie-in to the movie. And as we know, all property video games suck all the time, forever and ever and ever. And then, Arkham Asylum is the Arkham series is probably the best licensed game series I can think of. Thoughts on that? Can you think of a better one?
I am personally struggling at this point to think of something that's better. There's not a
yeah.
particularly high bar, that said.
Yeah, exactly.
Only one comes to mind that is anything near the quality of this, which was the Spider-Man 2 game. Not the Amazing Spider-Man, I'm talking back in 2002.
I remember that.
GameCube, PlayStation 2 kind of era. And yeah, like that one, I've got a copy of it that I picked up for $1 at JB Hi-Fi last year. And they somehow had a GameCube game kicking around there, so I picked that up. Now, I haven't even ever played that, but a lot of people praise that as one of the gold standards as far as tie-in games. But yeah, certainly not a whole lot come to mind.
Okay.
I've actually played that Spider-Man 2 game, and it is pretty good, but no, it doesn't hold a candle to this.
This came later and certainly,
Yes,
certainly improved upon, the kind of thin foundation. But what was it in particular, kind of looking at your low expectations, you didn't expect to like this, you thought it was just going to be another cheap tie-in or a cheap license. What in particular surprised you or impressed you about the Arkham game, the first one?
The intro, just the way they did the opening credits had me hooked. It was so full of tension. Kevin Conroy, Mark Hamill, bringing it. That's it. Last podcast we loved on James Spader. Now we can love on Mark Hamill.
That's what the tie-in here is, by the way. This is the all Mark Hamill edition of Well Played.
Of Well Played. Oh, just him as the Joker playing off Batman as they're going down the corridor, and just watching that part down, I knew I was in for something special.
Yep. I found it to be enlightening. For someone who's not that familiar with the backstory of Batman and all the different characters that go along into it, I found it to be very, very informative and well acted, well voice acted, and the gameplay was enjoyable, which is the crucial point for me.
Yeah, I'm going to actually be the hater in this segment. I really disliked these games. I found the gameplay incredibly tedious.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which ones in particular are you talking about?
I played Arkham City and Arkham Asylum.
Okay.
So I haven't played Origins or Night, which are the newer ones. But I found, it's not really my style of game, to be perfectly honest. As far as it goes, it was fine, but there was just a point which you really needed to get good at the game and the comboing of attacks and your situational and spatial awareness in order to actually succeed at getting the story out of the game. I love the story, but the actual gameplay itself I found really arduous. So
that's one aspect of the gameplay, which is that is known for, is that those combos, that stringing combos particularly. Another completely different aspect of that, though, which I thought maybe offset that a little bit for me. Like I'm not a big combo kind of guy myself, but I loved the exploration, particularly in that first one in Arkham Asylum, with all the hidden bits and all the allusions to other characters that aren't there, but you can see, someone's hat or these tips of the hat to certain characters within the DC universe that aren't present in the game. Did anyone else appreciate that, or am I the sole exploration guy?
Oh, no. The one that my favorite part is you go into the morgue and there's a body with a toe tag, Ra's al Ghul. You go out, do something, come back into the morgue and the body's gone. You're like, yeah, seems about right.
Cool. I personally would have missed a lot of those, I think. I did a lot of my sort of backstory in terms of just the information that they gave me. Whenever you'd meet a new character and it'd come up with like a little storybook thing, I'd go through and actually read all those in detail, and I found them very informative and enlightening, which was great.
Oh, they're good. Yeah.
So it was an excellent way to actually get into the series and understand a bit more about the Batman character. But then at the same time, I actually agree with Bauxite in a way. So, for instance, the kind of things that really, really bug me in a game is I have an inner completionist. and that completionists must be sated when I'm playing through something that I'm actually enjoying. So when I get things like a Riddler's question mark stuck in a room that I cannot get into and I can see it, it annoys the crap out of me. Really, really frustrating. So, yeah, like from a completionist perspective, there's a lot to this game.
See, they addressed that though in Arkham Origins, but what you're saying, but that was actually something that cheesed me off, because you see the pack, you see the trophy, you're going to get the trophy. You didn't really have to work for them. So I think seeing it and saying, oh, I can't get it back, or I'm going to need another tool to think about this, and yeah, that part I actually did really like. I didn't like saying, oh, there's the trophy, I'm going to get it right now and never have to think about this area ever again.
Okay. Yeah. I see, having to revisit points of the game after you have more gear and more equipment. I don't know. That strikes me as just irritating. Really irritating.
Okay. Different folks, different strokes.
Yeah, exactly. So there's other aspects of the game I really enjoy. So the actual combat I found to be quite satisfying. Good fun. However, having played through the Assassin's Creed series, it felt very same-ish. What did you guys think?
What's the timeline? When did the first Assassin's Creed come out?
Funny you should ask that. November 13, 2007 was the first Assassin's Creed.
That would have been within weeks of each other.
No. Batman Arkham Asylum was 2009,
2009,
so a good 2 years ahead.
Yeah. So I look at this and just go, oh gee, how much of this is just a reskinning of Assassin's Creed? Like I enjoy the story, don't get me wrong, but like, did they do anything really original with the game?
Well, Batman never kills, so completely different in that sense.
I don't think you can say that, the people from Assassin's Creed are killing people. That's
that's just implication. You're just reading too far into it.
But in honesty, there was the kind of, like, for me as a fan of Batman, as someone who loves the character and all of those like different tips of the hat, like this game seemed perfect in that respect. I think that if it's a reskinning of the Assassin's Creed series, then they certainly got it right as far as fan service. I think that was the main differential here. But look, some of those aspects are certainly there. If you go to a peak point, like there's a lot of climbing in both games where you get to a top point and kind of have the vista of the wider world. And that was something that was big in Assassin's Creed. But look, I'm sure Assassin's Creed had a huge kind of impact on a lot of games that were released since, like, after it was released in 2007.
Yeah, to a certain extent. So aside from the combat, there's also like the building climbing and the sitting above your targets type of aspect of things.
I've played Assassin's Creed, so does it have a Predator mode as well, where you've got the heavily armed guys and just shooting them doesn't going to solve the dead problem? Okay.
I mean, to be fair, I think Batman was stalking his foes from building tops long before Assassin's Creed. But
that's true. Batman was punching bad guys long before Assassin's Creed came out.
I'm not sure about that. I mean, like, Ezio's like, what, 1600s?
Well, Bruce Wayne time traveled back to the time of, like, cavemen kind of thing.
Oh, cavemen. That is true. You can almost say Bruce Wayne invented the punch.
I think you're talking about Chuck Norris. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, so for Batman, they've sort of skipped a lot of the climbing stuff, and there's a bit more puzzling stuff out. So, like, investigating things, the bits in the city where you're, like, looking at bullet trajectories and that sort of stuff. So, another point of it that I found to be a little bit frustrating was playing through City. I got up to a point with, what do they call it? Like a virtual reality style testing thing where you're flying around and, like, diving through alleyways and stuff like that. Have you guys played those missions?
Yep.
Did you find those to be really frustrating?
Yeah, but I still did them.
Okay. Yeah, like I did the first bunch, and I'm like, yeah, okay, cool, that's done. Oh no, there's another series. Okay.
There's advanced AR.
Yeah, and one of them is like you have to like thread the needle with your with the going from the diving to the gliding parts of things.
Yep.
And oh gee, that was frustrating. I just found it so irritating. That was playing on the PC platform as well, so it might be slightly different on other platforms. What platforms did you guys play it on?
I played on PC. Yeah.
I initially bought the Xbox 360 copy of City, and then went, oh, it's coming out on the Wii U. I might actually sell this. I ended up making more from selling it than I spent on it, so yeah, I got the Wii U copy.
Cool. And how did you find those missions? Did you struggle to get through those, or were the controls satisfactory?
I mean, the controls were great on that Wii U touchpad. That works quite well for a lot of different aspects of this game. Here, it's kind of that there are so many of those, and for you being a completionist, that would really piss you off because there's so many of those damn additional missions and stuff like that. I try to avoid extras as much as I can just to get the core story out there.
Yeah, sure.
I mean,
that's actually the same sort of strategy I used when playing because as someone who's got over 1,000 hours played on Skyrim, if I tried to be the completionist I am in Batman Arkham City, I think I probably would have lost a lot of time.
Yep. I suspect you're absolutely right. Like, in terms of trying to get the most enjoyment out of the game, I don't think your completionist is going to be rewarded. I think they're going to be more punished in trying to actually, in exploring all the nooks and crannies and collecting all the question marks and stuff like that.
Not so much in the third one. In Arkham Knight, that's not the case, but I'd say in the other three, you're actually quite well rewarded for your completionist. You get the interview tapes, which is good. You get the backstory, but you also get the character traits. But the big thing is you get the challenge maps, and it's worth completing that just to do all the extra challenge maps.
You also get that extra ending at the end of Arkham.
Yeah,
Asylum,
Arkham Asylum. You mean Arkham Knight?
No, I mean the first Arkham game.
Yeah.
If you collect every single Riddler trophy, you get an extra scene at the end.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
There is that. That was my actual problem with Arkham Knight was, because the greedy bastards are trying to sell more DLC, even if when I unlocked everything, I didn't get any extra maps or any extra challenge modes, which was annoying. But that's something they did really well in the previous versions.
Okay. That's interesting. Did they... Here's a question story-wise. Playing through Arkham City... it's Arkham City isn't actually Arkham City. It's just a part of the city that has been cordoned off by Doctor Strange. Is that correct? Like, I thought I was
by Hugo Strange. Doctor Strange is a Marvel guy, but that's me being a technicality. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I when I went into the game, I was expecting Grand Theft Auto meets Arkham Asylum. And what I got was more, I don't even know how to describe it. Arkham Asylum zoomed out a little bit with a little less linearity. What did you guys think of that?
Yeah, definitely describe it that way. I think, what makes you think, sort of, how would you describe that if we had Grand Theft Auto meets Arkham Asylum, if that was your expectation of the game, what would that look like? Like, how would that function differently?
Yeah, so what I was kind of expecting, Grand Theft Auto style, is an expansive Arkham City. You see, like, the rails, like the monorails, you see the highways, you see the buildings all over the place. And you've got missions, yes, but the actual city itself is filled with civilians. It's filled with people that need to be saved. It's filled with a bank robbery that happens just as you're going past. That sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Well, to be fair, a lot of the monorail was destroyed in the first Batman movie, so...
Thank you, Bauxite.
Yeah, although this is another point about Arkham is that it takes place in its own discrete kind of universe that they've set up, and without spoiling some of the storyline details about how that works, they had reasons why.
Yeah, yeah. That's something that I think they've lacked. I love in Arkham City, it makes sense. It's an open-air prison. It's called the prison is called Arkham City. Yep, that's great. That's awesome. It's described as a hellhole, and it's appropriate. And then in Arkham Origins, you're playing at 2:00 in the morning, so there are no people around, which is stupid. It took having the no people and really not being able to protect people. They had the crimes in progress missions, but there wasn't really, I'm walking along and there's someone, he's being mugged in front of me, let's dive into action. That was lacking, and then in night, they got rid of all the civilians, they had to evacuate, which was also a bit of a shame. But by the same token, if you see someone in these games, you can punch them.
Yeah, I don't know. It felt like they could have filled it out a little bit more. Like,
make it feel like a lived-in actual city.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. They could have. It needed more. It needs people. A city needs people.
Yeah.
So did you play Arkham Knight on PC, Harrow?
Oh yes.
How did you go with the technical issues?
Actually, it wasn't as bad as what people were making it out to be. The only real problem I had was when there was some of the puzzles involved mirrors. And that is what I had. That's when the glitches started happening. But apart from that, it wasn't too bad.
Okay, because I heard that the console version was basically glitch-free, more or less, as much as anything is these days. But the PC version was a bit of a nightmare. So
as much as anything that big can be nowadays, yeah.
Yeah.
No, not as bad as people were making it out to be. But yeah, when there's a mirror, there are problems.
All right. So, in terms of value for money and replayability, how do you guys feel about this?
Each game, in my opinion, is worth the full price individually. Okay. The DLCs are hit and miss. I'm not a big fan of the DLC. I think they're overpriced or even pointless.
What did you think of the soundtrack?
The Arkham City soundtrack is amazing. But Arkham Asylum is, it's okay. I don't really have much, I don't really have any vivid memories of the Asylum's soundtrack.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, personally, I don't think it's worth it, but I don't think it's worth it for me. They're perfectly good games. They're just not my style.
Yep. I'm probably leaning in your direction as well, Baux. Again, perfectly good games. Probably would have been better if I'd played them in when they'd been released, roughly, as opposed to going back to them now with all my retrospective baggage. But that said, it's certainly a great introduction to the Batman universe if you haven't really been exposed to it before.
Yeah, I think if your friends aren't exposed to the Batman universe, then they ain't no friends of mine. No, I think that it kind of it's a good podcast when you can quote Safety Dance. But here, I think that I'm probably the exact opposite. I imagine Harrow's in the same kind of boat as far as the fan service, particularly, is what does that for me. But
yeah,
am I alone on that?
No, it's not the fan service isn't. The story is worth the full price. Not the fan service is good. The sounds, everything else we've talked about being good is great, but I think it's the story which makes this game worth its full price.
For me, the story was absolutely the most attractive thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Having played through not all of Arkham Asylum and only the first chunk of Arkham City, I felt like there was too much. What's her name? Joker's female sidekick.
Harley Quinn.
Harlequin. I felt like there was too much. Gee, she annoyed me sometimes.
Who doesn't? She's like the most popular comic book chick in the world, and you don't like Harley, and you're like the one person on the planet that doesn't like Harley Quinn.
No,
man. She's pretty annoying.
Oh,
yeah, she is annoying. Put it that way. Like, I get the character. I think it's a cool character and it's a cool concept. And having read her backstory now, I'm like, well, that's awesome.
Yeah.
But the actual voice acting, the actual character, just like, oh, shut up, just get it over with. Oh my goodness.
Well, so, you've got a whole movie full of her coming up in the new what is it?
Suicide
Squad. Yeah. I'm actually still looking forward to that. That could be still pretty cool. They're all retailing for $20 US on Steam, except for Arkham Knight. That's going for $50.
Yep.
And I imagine there'll be some sort of bundled pack or something like that that'll be released at the appropriate time, probably around when Suicide Squad comes out or something like that. Yeah. But yeah, certainly good value, certainly. I wouldn't be terribly upset to have paid that much for the game personally.
You know, my experience with Batman leading up to this was I was like, oh no, I like Batman. Batman's cool. And I wasn't expecting to like Batman Begins. Really liked it. Was expecting good things from Dark Knight. It's amazing. And then I really enjoyed Arkham Asylum. I'm like, yeah, this is pretty cool. When's the sequel coming out? And then they do this interview. They do this interview for Arkham City. They're saying, oh, this game reminds me a lot of the No Man's Land storyline. And they describe it. It's when there was a massive earthquake and Gotham City was declared a no man's land and was no longer considered part of the USA, and no one with a criminal record or gang affiliation was allowed to leave. So it became this feudal hellhole with all the different villains trying to carve out a piece of fiefdom and fighting each other, with Batman trying to clean it out. And when they described it to me, I went, I have to pick up a comic right now. Arkham Asylum, but then the lead up to Arkham City is what got me into DC Comics. Do you think this would be the case for many people out there? Do you think, and to our listeners, please comment and leave tweets or whatever, think City got people into comic books or Asylum?
You're certainly looking to evangelize here, aren't you?
Yeah, that's right. Read No Man's Land!
It's actually, I would second that as far as No Man's Land. The only thing about it is it's really long. You have to pick up a couple of volumes, but definitely one of the stories that reinvigorated Batman in the late 90s. Look, I certainly hope it would lead... Was that, sorry?
It's early noughties.
Is it? Okay, all right. So I remember that as one kind of time period when I was reading comic books, but certainly worth checking out. But it is a long story. Related to it was the
1,000 pages.
But definitely, I would kind of hope that people would get more into comics having read this, with all the references at least that are in there to other characters in other parts of the universe.
Your thoughts, you non-Batman fans?
As in terms of this being
like the window, the
gateway drug.
A gateway, yeah. Look, yeah, certainly filling out the backstory for me was a big selling point for this. And like, I wouldn't say I'm not a Batman fan. Like, I'd be perfectly happy to read that sort of stuff. It's just never really come across my desk, as it were. So, yeah, strongly agree, I guess. Like, it's a good way to actually get into the series.
Oh, yeah, if it's your first introduction to the series, you could do a lot worse. Yeah, it's a good point.
Yep. I think Bauxite's absent at the moment. Maybe
no, I just, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. No, look, they're fine. In terms of getting a more detailed picture of what's going on in the universe, yes, it's great. For me, the Chris Nolan movies were what really got me more interested, more than anything else.
Yep, I agree there. I love those movies. And even the third one, which had a lot of complaints about it and stuff like that, and plot holes and that sort of thing.
We could do an entire podcast on the Chris Nolan trilogy. We might save that for later.
I think maybe a live commentary would be something a bit more fun. Sit down and watch all three of them one after the other, and
God,
sit down and talk. Yeah, that sounds fun, doesn't it, Bauxite?
yeah, that's great. Why don't I just read the Wheel of Time series while I'm at it?
See, you can multitask.
For next week.
So what's that? We got the Wheel of Time for next week. Okay.
Start now.
Oh dear.
I think you guys might have misunderstood me.
All right. Does anyone else have anything to raise in relation to this series and Batman in general?
I think the last thing in my notes was sorry, Bauxite, I'm going to keep talking about Batman.
No, that's all right. It's really opening my eyes to how much you like Batman. I didn't realize that you had.
Now, I think at the time, was Asylum like the first? Asylum isn't based on any particular property or any particular spin-off of Batman. It's just based off Batman.
It's loosely based off Arkham Asylum. Not
really.
The Grant Morrison book where Batman goes into Arkham Asylum is quite, I say loosely because, it's quite broad and everything like that, but that was quite an eye-opening one. Another Grant Morrison work. But it's got those ties, certainly, but it, standalone universe, standalone story in a lot of other respects.
Yeah, because I think what they did really well is we want sort of darker tones like for what Nolan did, but we want the voices from the animated series that Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill did, but we want all the backstory from the 70 years of Batman we've had. They did a really, really good job of just picking and choosing the best parts and assembling this really rich world. Agree? Disagree?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. All right.
Perfect. I guess that's a good summary of the way that they brought it all together. It feels it's definitely got that a lot for those of us who have more experience with the movies than the actual games and comics. It has a lot stronger feeling of the comics and the original story and that sort of thing, as opposed to the movies and the way that was reintroduced kind of thing.
So Bluetongue, you want to outro us before I go into another Bat rant?
No, not really. Bauxite, would you like to outro us?
Yes, certainly I can do that. But before I do the outro, I'd actually like to give us a bit of a shout out to one of our listeners, RJ. He gave us a bit of an email at our email address, wellplayedau@gmail.com, and gave us some feedback. We really appreciate that. We've taken that to heart, and thank you very much. But in terms of the outro, thank you very much for listening. We hope you've enjoyed yourselves as much as we have. If you'd like to send us any feedback or views, questions, comments at wellplayedau@gmail.com, or you can catch us on Twitter at wellplayedau. And if you'd like to leave us a 5-star review on iTunes or a review, that would be very much appreciated. Thank you.
See you later, everyone.
Bye.
See ya.
Bye.